presence. It was like a haunting.
This house was my enemy. It felt like it was my enemy.
It's like movie aliens coming out at you.
How many more are in there? It was like a rotting body was in there.
They're going to multiply. They're not going to leave, and I didn't know how to get rid of them.
3 different families fighting 3 different infestations. Home is a sanctuary, but invaders don't respect boundaries. Our 4 walls provide all they need to survive, to thrive, and to multiply. And when they move in, home will never feel the same again. Brandon Richard has a surprise for his family.
I bought a camper trailer. We wanted to venture out, go camping, and give the kids a summer vacation.
When Brandon first brought the camper home, we were all very, very excited.
8 years earlier, the Richard family moved to rural Tennessee from Florida in search of a peaceful life.
It was more for the kids, us wanting them to grow up here. That's why it was special to us.
When the family first moved in, the 3-bedroom home was perfect. But with 4 growing kids, space is becoming tight.
It's not the biggest house in the world, but it's been a really, really good place to raise the kids. We came in here and we made it a home.
But life in the country isn't always peaceful. One night, Dawn hears a strange sound coming from the attic.
It was that horrible scratching, it's creepy, scratchy. You knew something was there. It gave you the willies, and we didn't know what it was.
Brandon is unconcerned.
My immediate thought was mice. I just figured as long as whatever it is up there stays up there and doesn't come down here, we'll be in good shape.
The following night, the noises continue. The kids are too afraid to sleep in their own rooms.
The kids would tell me, "Daddy, we've got mice up in the attic. I hear them squeaking all night long." I went out and bought a mouse trap that would hold 30 live mice because I thought there was a lot of them up there. And I put peanut butter in the center of it and I set it.
Brandon's confident that the bait will be irresistible. But the nighttime noises aren't the only mysterious thing going on around the house.
I was in the yard and I saw some really strange droppings out there on top of a wood pile. And it's nothing like I've ever seen before. I thought maybe there was a rat or something out there.
Something spooked the family cat. She's fixated with an area of the roof.
She would just stare at the side of the house, right in between the girls' window and the boys' window.
The cat would behave acting kind of weird. And I just figured it was watching birds. They'd go around the side of the house and just keep looking up at the gables.
And we just chalk it up to her being crazy because we didn't know why she was standing there just staring up at the house.
Dawn also notices something odd.
You'd get this whiff that smelled like dirty feet, dirty shoes. It was so strong and disgusting.
The smell smelled similar to mouse feces. in mouse urine.
With all the clues pointing to rodents, Brandon checks on the traps.
Definitely a mystery going on in the attic. I could not understand why they weren't going in the trap.
Despite daily inspections, the mystery goes unsolved. Then the Richards notice strange damp patches forming on the ceiling.
I checked the roof for a leak, and I didn't see any leaks. And we put some white paint over it, covered it up. The stain came back through. And we couldn't really describe it. Didn't know where that mess was coming from.
It was a complete mystery. It was mind-boggling.
Around the same time, Dawn and 10-year-old Benjamin start having asthma attacks.
I thought that both of us suffering was extremely unusual and strange, because we do very well of keeping our asthma under control.
We just really didn't know how to explain anything. We couldn't put anything together.
Brandon is starting to worry about what's going on in his house.
I decided to go up in the attic and investigate a different end of the house. A bunch of droppings fell out of the towel. They were the same as outside the house. I looked down to the wall coming out of the attic floor, and I heard movement. Looked like movie Aliens. It was just a swarm of bats coming out of there.
The Richards attic has been colonized by hundreds of bats. "400 miles away in College Park, Maryland, Newlyweds Dan Greenspan and Holly Russo are trying to buy their first home. They're feeling the pressure to make an offer fast.
It was a time when the market was heating up a lot, and people were buying houses the same day they saw them.
If you didn't buy a house within hours, it was gone. We saw this house and fell in love with it.
We thought, what a wonderful home this will be for us.
The couple need to move on it, so they arrange a quick inspection and seal the deal.
When we first got the key, opened the door, swung it open, welcome to your new home. Oh my God, what is that smell?
We'd been closed up for several weeks. It smelled horrible. You could smell this kind of undertone of foulness. And it was an immediate problem.
Dan and Holly search for the source of the stench.
And we see that there's this like beige stain going around the entire perimeter of the room.
All around the room, it was completely saturated with cat urine. So we cleaned and cleaned and cleaned that room, but when that was done, we couldn't understand why the house still smelled.
The foul smell isn't the only strange thing they notice.
In the laundry room, there were what looked like coffee grounds on the floor.
Over the next few days, Dan spots the same granules in places they've already cleaned.
We saw them in the bathroom. We saw them near the kitchen sink. They were mostly where it was dark and still and moist. I had no idea what they were. I was baffled.
The damp smell persists. It's worse around the leaky plumbing in the bathroom.
I thought, this is not a big deal. It takes almost no effort to change a washer in a faucet. The weird grounds came out from behind the decorative plate at the faucet handle, and I had seen these things so many times now. I was really interested in what these were.
Dan locates an inspection hatch with access to the plumbing in the bathroom.
And I couldn't get the hatch off. There were many layers of paint, so clearly this hatch had not been opened for years. I could hear tapping inside. Very gentle tapping sounds. At this point now, I knew something was wrong. Something was seriously wrong.
When Dan opened the access panel, this mustiness came out from behind there.
And that's when I smelled a horrible, horrible odor. This hellish odor just exploded out of this hole.
Something is growing beneath the bathtub. And it's moving.
It was like a rotting body was in there.
In Tennessee, Brandon Richard has just discovered a huge colony of bats living in his family's attic.
When I stirred them up, there's so many of them, couldn't even count them.
He heads outside, where the commotion has caught his neighbor's attention.
Brandon came in the room, he's like, you need to come outside and look at this. And you could just see them going out and coming in, going out and coming in. And I looked up, I looked at him and I said, oh God, Brandon, what are we gonna do?
The colony in the attic is thriving.
Attics are a great place for bats to roost and a great place for bats to nurse their young. They're dry, they're enclosed, they're protected from predators. And once they gain entry, bats can literally set up a colony in the hundreds overnight.
All the unexplained events and weird incidents around the house begin to make sense.
Seeing those going in and out of the gables was the revelation. That was it. It all fit together then. They explained the noises, they explained the smells, and everything.
The Richards must deal with the problem.
Because bats tend to come back year after year, removing them from the environment once doesn't solve the problem. You have to eliminate their ability to get into the attic in order to get rid of the problem once and for all.
They've made a home there and they're not gonna leave, and I didn't know how to get rid of them.
The Richards call in bat expert Scott Rainbolt. His inspection reveals the colony isn't confined to the attic.
Scott told us, you've got problems. You've got big problems.
You could actually hear the bats crawling up the wall to get away from where I was tapping. And it's actually one of the bigger colonies that I've dealt with. 500 plus easy.
Scott plans to exterminate the colony before it grows any bigger. But first, he needs to check what kind of bat he's dealing with.
If you have a bat infestation in your house, you must ID the bat species because you may actually not be able to do anything about removing that species.
The news isn't good. The bats in the attic are Indiana brown bats, an endangered and protected species. The bats will have to stay until their young can fly off, and that won't happen for another 3 months.
Indiana brown bats have been severely affected by a new disease, white nose syndrome, which has decimated their population, driven them to a verge of extinction, and now they're on the endangered species list, and it's illegal to kill them. It's incredibly important that you work within the confines of the law as far as what you can and can't do as far as removing bats from your house. What you have to do is you have to wait until the babies have gotten old enough that they can leave on their own. And at that point, you can bring in a specialist to seal off the access points so that they are not allowed to return.
I expected them to come in here, exterminate them, just get them out, trap them, whatever they had to do. This is my house. I live here. I pay the bills and the mortgage, and I've never seen a red penny cent come out of them.
It's not the only problem. A colony this large leaves behind gallons of waste, and it's leaking into the Richards home.
You're going to have a significant quantity of urine and fecal contamination wherever they're roosting.
The bat's waste, known as guano, is a breeding ground for mold and bacteria. It has been releasing invisible spores into the air, aggravating the family's asthma.
Benjamin and I had suffered all this time because of these bats in our attic. And it was very upsetting because, you know, he's a kid and he's our child, and it was just incredibly dangerous for me and Benjamin.
And there's a deadlier threat: rabies.
Rabid bats have been found in every state in the United States with the exception of Hawaii. And without treatment, rabies is almost 100% fatal.
It's too risky for the family to stay in the house.
They had just had a confirmed rabies from a bat in the same county. So I really did not want them in the structure with them.
Brandon and Dawn need to get their kids out. They send them to Florida to stay with their grandparents.
The bats have invaded my house. We've sent the kids away, but they still get to stay there.
The bats have taken over, and they're showing no signs of leaving.
I didn't care how they got them out of there. I just wanted them out of my home.
In Indiana, Chad and Wendy Cook are moving into a bigger house. They need the space.
My wife was pregnant with our third child, and we thought, well, let's try to find a house in a neighborhood that may be more conducive for our family.
We knew that the home that we bought was going to be the home that we stayed in, and that this house would be the house that our kids would grow up in.
The new home seems perfect for Zion, Avery, and the baby, due in 2 months.
It was just down the road from the school that we were looking at. Neighborhood was great, so the kids were really excited as well.
The house has been vacant for over a year, but it's been well cared for.
A couple that had owned the house before would come back and clean, and they had maintained the home.
A few unwelcome visitors are inevitable.
I don't like any spider. I don't care what kind of spider it is. I don't like daddy long legs. I don't like centipedes. Don't like bugs.
Chad's not worried at all.
When we move in, they'll move out, and it won't be any problem for us.
The Cook family settles in. But the spiders don't move out.
On a given day, we were seeing 5 to 10 of these little spiders. I felt like if we're having all these spiders, like I'm not cleaning well enough or something's going on.
I'm laying there and I have my arm around her.
He said to me, I got something on my arm.
I just had a spider on me. Ugh. I felt the legs on my arm.
Chad tries to catch the intruder.
I can't capture this spider. It's back behind the bed and it crawls under the woodwork.
And I said, Chad, we really need to get the exterminator out here because these little spiders are everywhere.
Chad puts calling an exterminator on his to-do list. While Chad's at work, Wendy notices even more arachnids roaming around.
I would see these little spiders again, and I never had a house with so many spiders in it.
That day, Chad overhears colleagues talking about spiders. One coworker happened to get an email that shows the horrific wounds some spiders can cause.
There's a picture in the email of a guy who got bit by a spider, and it shows like a progression, maybe like after 1 day, 3 days, 5 days, and it's just ate all the tissue away. I thought, gross.
The bites were caused by a type of spider that isn't normally found in northern Indiana, so Chad's not worried.
It totally is something I dismiss, and I'm not thinking anything about my spiders at my house.
Back at home, Chad's too busy to think about bugs. He and his dad are emptying the garage for a rummage sale.
I remember my dad being over there, helping with the rummage, getting it set up. The spider just comes across in front of me.
There's something worryingly familiar about the spider. It looks just like the one Chad saw in the email.
It's got the violin-shaped marking on its back, and I think, no way. I'm feeling super scared. And I remember what it did to that guy's hand.
Chad realizes the spiders invading his house may be more than just a nuisance.
And I'm worried about what these spiders may do to my family.
In Tennessee, the Richard family's summer is not what they had in mind. A colony of protected bats has taken over their home. Dawn and Brandon send their kids away to stay with their grandparents.
It was just safer and easier for them until we really knew what was going on.
The couple has to stay and deal with the problem. With the bat's waste dripping down the walls, the house is becoming uninhabitable. It gets worse in the summer heat.
The smell will knock you down when you open the door.
It was unbearable to come in here and just sit. It wasn't good to breathe in at all.
Dawn and Brandon are forced out.
The camper was meant for fun and camping and going summer vacation. But I never thought I'd end up living in the darn thing.
It made me extremely angry that I had to move into a camper when I have a house sitting right next door.
Local laws dictate the couple can't do anything about the protected bats until the young ones can fly. Every night, the Richards are taunted by bats flying in and out of their home.
Quite frequently, it run through my mind as to why am I living in this camper trailer? And these freeloaders are in my attic.
A month later, the bats still haven't left. but the kids have to return home to start the school year. Now the entire family is squeezed into the camper.
You get, kind of short with one another because it's a small area, and then when they come home from school, you're trying to cook dinner in a camper, you're trying to get homework done, and it was a tough time.
One night, Brandon and the bat expert see something extraordinary. For the first time in months, the sky is empty. The expert checks the attic and confirms the bats have gone. He gets to work, sealing any holes to the outside.
That was a big, big relief. That was a big weight off of our shoulders.
But the Richards problems aren't over. The bats have left behind gallons of putrid guano.
Under the floorboards in the attic and against the wall, the droppings were approximately 5 to 6 inches deep. That's a lot of toxic material.
The infestation may be over, but now the family must endure the camper for another 3 months, while their house is torn apart.
The attic floor had to be replaced. The kids' walls had to be replaced, sprayed down extensively with bleach to make sure all of the droppings were gone.
In the end, when it was all said and done with, I believe it was over $30,000 that was sunk into this house.
Finally, the family reclaims their home just in time to enjoy Thanksgiving.
We were finally back at our home together, bat-free.
I do fear that they'll return because they're a creature of habit. Undoubtedly, they will probably try to get back in, but I'll be watching for them.
In Maryland, there's a strange, foul-smelling mass growing under Dan Greenspan's and Holly Russo's bathtub.
I didn't really understand what it was. Upon closer inspection, it was some kind of cricket. They kind of look like grasshoppers with spider legs, and we were disgusted.
Hundreds of insects are living on top of a mysterious, moving mess.
They were still squirming out from the corners, and I could see their antennas coming out from the cracks.
Dan and Holly call in an exterminator. He identifies the insects as cave crickets. They don't normally live in homes, but there's something about this one that's attracting them.
The environment is the most important factor to cave crickets. They're looking for cool, wet, damp, dark places.
Dan and Holly's leaky pipes are providing the perfect habitat.
We've actually seen cave cricket infestations that can number in the hundreds, if not thousands, living right inside your home with you.
The exterminator sprays pesticides to kill the mass of crickets under the bathtub. As with many infestations, what's left behind is more dangerous than the infestation itself.
It dawned on me eventually, these coffee grounds are cave cricket feces. And all over your house, Dan, your house is filled to bursting with cave cricket turds.
There were 8 gallons of cave cricket droppings underneath the tub.
The buildup is going to be tough to get rid of.
They dried and they hardened, so there are these rock-like concretions of turds.
Dan has to deal with the nasty task of sanding away the excrement.
No amount of cleaning could truly make it sanitary.
It's a stressful time. Holly's starting to feel sick.
I was taking the allergy medicine. I was pumped full of decongestants and antihistamines, and still could barely breathe.
Dan asks an insurance adjuster to estimate the cost of repairs. He spots a serious problem.
The specialist said there are several mold organisms in here that are as dangerous as anthrax.
Molds excrete toxic compounds which can be lethal. Sanding away the feces may have released fungal spores, putting Dan and his wife in danger. They're forced out by the waste the crickets have left behind. Specialists move in to deal with the mold using a neutralizing gas.
They assured us that once they gave it this treatment, it would be habitable.
After 3 days, Dan and Holly return, hoping for a fresh start.
It was like we were finally winning. We turned a corner.
And at that point, I began to feel like, well, maybe there's some victory in sight.
That night, Holly is eager to unpack and heads into the garage to sort through stuff.
My eye glanced down this aisle of boxes. The box I need is covered in crickets.
Dan and Holly are mystified. The pesticides worked in the bathroom, but somehow a new infestation has started in the garage. They call back the exterminator. He drenches the entire garage in pesticides.
I continued to feel hopeful that it was going to get better.
For a few days, the crickets disappear.
I just freeze because it's horrifying.
It wasn't simply that they were living in our house. It's that our house was kind of a wonderland for crickets.
Nothing adds up. Crickets keep reappearing in new places and greater numbers.
There's not just a few bugs here. This is a serious problem.
In Anderson, Indiana, the Cook family's home is attracting an unusual number of spiders. They thought they were harmless. Now Chad's captured one he suspects has a bite that causes flesh-eating wounds.
Now I'm worried. Now I'm paying attention to these spiders that are in the garage.
He sends the suspicious spider to the State University's entomology department for identification. Waiting for the results is especially nerve-wracking for Wendy, who's 8 months pregnant.
My anxiety about the situation became elevated. I started getting real paranoid. So every time I seen one of these spiders, I was just getting more upset.
And I think I'm gonna try to kill this spider. I pull out a spray and spray it. And this spider is still making it through all this chemical that I'm putting on it. So I got firsthand experience that that spider was not easily killed.
Wendy calls the university to find out what they're dealing with. The news is bad. The spider they've found is a brown recluse.
For my money, it's the worst spider to be bitten by in the United States.
The venom of a brown recluse can kill a small child.
It's not something you want to have babies or anything that's going to, be wandering around curious, picking up brown recluses.
Children are really vulnerable to the bites of a brown recluse spider. The spider does not know who he's biting, and he will inject the same amount of venom whether it's a newborn baby or a 140-pound man. A newborn baby who gets bitten by a brown recluse spider is going to get a much higher load of venom per pound than an adult will.
I'm thinking back to all of these circumstances that they have been on me, like the one that crawls on me in bed. These flashes come to my mind of they have been like around everywhere. What maybe I dismissed before may actually all be these brown recluse spiders. The last thing I want to know is that everything that's been happening was something really dangerous to my family.
I was crying, and there were a lot of, I can't believe this happened to us. Why does this happen to us?
It shouldn't be happening to the Cooks. Brown recluses are rarely found in northern Indiana. They're most widespread in the southern states of the U.S.
Brown recluses are common in a particular part of the country, but there is a border between where they occur and where they don't occur. That's the edge of their range. At the moment, we think, for example, that goes right through the middle of Indiana. Southern Indiana, they're there. Northern Indiana, they're not.
These dangerous spiders are slowly advancing across the United States.
As things get warmer and wetter, they're expanding their range. Unfortunately, the houses we build are very attractive to them.
Staying isn't an option. While exterminators spray their home with pesticides, the Cooks pack up their kids and go to a friend's house.
I'm very confident we'll be back in the house and ready to, live our normal life again.
I was thinking, we'll go back home after a week.
Within days, it's obvious the pesticides have had no effect. The spiders can sense it and hide.
Spiders have hairs all over their bodies that they smell with. They're in a place where they don't like it. They go to a place where there's no pesticides.
The exterminators come up with a new tactic: glue boards. Brown recluses roam to hunt their prey. It's just a matter of time before they walk into a sticky trap.
They're finding 30, 40 brown recluse spiders at a time on these glue boards throughout the house.
Huge numbers of dead spiders mean there are many live ones yet to be caught. And the house provides the brown recluses with plenty of secret habitat in which to thrive.
There's miles and miles of habitat behind the walls, lots of holes to the outside, plenty of bugs coming in, lots to eat, great spider population. Everybody's happy, except the people.
When the Cooks drop by to check on the exterminator's progress, the experts admit they're struggling.
They're all doing the best that they know how, but it's just not getting rid of the spiders in our house. They're unbeatable. They're indestructible.
Wendy and Chad are getting impatient.
I was like, what are you talking about? I'm going to have this baby in 4 weeks, and you're telling me, what are we going to do?
The Cooks have no choice but to camp out at Chad's parents'. They're told they can't move back home anytime soon.
I'm mad at the spiders, but a lot of emotion and no place to put it.
Back at their house, the brown recluses are breeding and multiplying.
With a bunch of females laying egg sacs with 50 individuals each, they can grow to an extremely large number very quickly.
The baby arrives, but it's simply too dangerous to take him home.
I remember taking our baby back to my parents. And we have, like, we're living in one room.
I was nursing. I did not feel comfortable. I was not at home. I was not happy.
What is my family going to do? How much longer is this going to go on?
In Maryland, a cricket infestation is pushing Holly Russo and Dan Greenspan to the breaking point.
It wasn't just a bug or two living in my house. This was a presence. It was like a haunting.
The bigger problem is the potentially dangerous waste they leave behind. The exterminator is called back for a third visit. This time, Dan and Holly want to solve the mystery of where the crickets are coming from.
We had to battle this problem, which was still a mystery. That was the worst thing, was the mystery. If you don't know where it's coming from, and now it's getting worse, we had to deal with it.
The exterminator suspects they're hiding somewhere close by.
I could hear them pinging against the inside of the walls. It's horrible.
I just kind of like pictured a hive of activity with like pulsating, juicy bodies. My brain goes, how many more are in there? You know, times 100, times 1,000.
The house is alive. Cave crickets are living and multiplying inside the walls and spilling out into the house.
The exterminator said that they don't normally come out unless there's such a population explosion in the walls it's almost forcing them to come out because there's no room for them inside the walls anymore.
They had to be captured, killed, or removed. This is not an animal you want to just ignore, like a housefly. You could say, would it get away from me? No, this is not that kind of creature. This is disturbing. Whatever you're doing, when you see one, you stop and you have to take care of it. You have to get rid of it because you can't rest with this thing in the house. There was nothing I could do in this house that didn't involve crickets or the discovery of crickets or dead crickets or cricket turds.
Getting pesticides into the walls will cause damage, and it's not a long-term solution.
He told us that even if we killed them all, they would always come back unless we removed the conditions that made them so happy.
Cave crickets love dark, damp areas, and Holly and Dan's house is riddled with leaky pipes. Their basic home inspection didn't reveal the problem.
At that point, I was thinking, oh, this is what a house inspection is supposed to find. I never would have bought the house if I knew that there was this problem.
But it's too late to go back. They have no choice but to tear their house apart.
Everywhere there was water, we had to open up the walls, replace pipes, replace flooring, replace everything.
We thought for sure, no matter how expensive it was to fix this, it was still going to be cheaper than moving. We were kind of trapped.
I was determined that they were not going to win if it meant I was going to live in a tent on a bare foundation. I was going to get rid of these creatures.
Cricket-proofing their home takes months and costs $30,000. Dan and Holly's drastic action works.
We still saw them, but not anywhere near in the same amount of numbers, and they got less and less as time went on.
There was a palpable sense of victory. The sun was beginning to come out. That's what it felt like the clouds were breaking. And there was hope in our future.
In Indiana, the Cook family's life has been turned upside down. Deadly brown recluse spiders have pushed them out of their home, forcing them to camp out at Chad's parents'.
Every day was like, is tomorrow going to be the day that we're going to be able to get back to normal? You know, is tomorrow going to be the day?
Back at the house, the spiders are living comfortably inside the walls.
The thing about brown recluses in houses is it's just hard to get the pesticides into the place where the main mass of spiders is living.
So the exterminators come up with a way of reaching them in their lairs.
Every 18 inches, they drill holes in our walls. Puff powder up into the walls and in between the rafters and think that this will get to the spots where they're at. Nothing is gonna live through this. You know, I think we're gonna get rid of the problem.
After the powder treatment, the brown recluses vanish.
And we started feeling like, all right, things are looking better.
As winter approaches, the cooks move back home and settle in. This time, the only spiders they see are dead ones.
There were dead spiders in the cabinets, and there were, dead spiders on the floor, dead spiders in the closets. There was a sense of normalcy. Normalcy started coming back.
As winter bites, the temperatures drop, and the cooks turn up the heat.
We've been there maybe a week. It's been 5-6 days. And my wife's putting my daughter to bed.
And I don't know why I looked up, but I just happened to look up. And there was this big, huge spider right above her bed.
The cooks are terrified to learn the spiders haven't been eradicated. They've been hibernating for winter. The heat put them back into action.
If you have an infestation in your house and you don't see the spiders in the winter, that's not because the spiders have died out. Spiders in the winter basically go into a sort of a torpor, almost a hibernation, and they're going to be back.
And it was at that point I started really feeling hatred toward that house. I was like, okay, I'm done. We have to move out. Just let the house go.
The spiders have won, forcing the cooks out for good, leaving them financially devastated.
I just don't want to think about how much we lost in, all that time frame. Everything together was just a huge burden.
Infestations is something that can happen to anyone. Whatever your scenario is, it can happen to any of us.